Imagine this for a second. It's 3 a.m. in Minneapolis. The streets are unnervingly quiet, buried under gray winter slush. But the ground is vibrating. Not from thunder, not from a train, from the slow, heavy movement of a convoy rolling down Lake Street. These are not local forces. These are federal troops, combat ready, live ammunition, deployed not with the state's approval, but against its wishes. This is not a movie scene. This is the scenario sitting on the president's desk right now. We are at the point of no return. Donald Trump has threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807 in Minneapolis. Most people hear that and scroll past. They think it is just another headline. They are wrong. This is not a headline. This is a tripwire. If this act is used the way it is being threatened, overriding a sitting governor to enforce a federal crackdown that has already turned deadly, we are no longer talking about politics. We are talking about the collapse of the constitutional order. We are talking about the U.S. military being ordered to treat American civilians as enemy combatants on American soil. Today, we walk through what happens the moment that order is signed. We look at the scenarios Pentagon planners have feared for decades. We expose the one-way door that is about to open, and why, once it opens, the country does not come back the same. Stay with me. It did not start with a speech. It started on the ground. January 2026. The Department of Homeland Security launches a massive surge operation. Thousands of federal agents flood into Minnesota. ICE, Border Patrol, a show of force. Then the moment that changes everything. Renee Good, 37 years old, shot and killed during a chaotic raid. The city erupts. Protests, tear gas, fear, anger. Trauma reopened from 2020. It is messy. It is painful. But it is still a local crisis. The governor's managing it. The mayor's involved. State police are deployed. Then the message hits. The president labels the protesters insurrectionists. He calls local leaders corrupt. And then he issues the threat. I will institute the Insurrection Act. This is not assistance. This is a warning. A hostile takeover of a state's authority. Presidents have sent troops before. Eisenhower did it to protect civil rights. Bush did it after the governor of California requested help during the LA riots. This is different. This is a president threatening to send the military into a state that does not want him there, to suppress protests against his own policies. This is crossing the line. Now understand the power behind that threat. The Insurrection Act of 1807 sounds old, harmless, historical, but in modern hands, it becomes one of the most dangerous tools a president can use. The language is vague. It gives the president the authority to deploy troops if he decides the law cannot be enforced normally. Notice the wording. If he decides. No Congress approval, no governor approval, just the president's judgment. Normally, the military is restricted by law from acting as police. That is the foundation of American democracy. But the Insurrection Act overrides that protection. It becomes the key that unlocks everything. Once invoked, local leaders are sidelined. State authority disappears. Law enforcement answers to military command, and military command answers to the White House. This is why constitutional scholars have warned about this law for years, not because it is used often, but because when it is abused, there are almost no safeguards. And Minneapolis is not just a city in this scenario, it becomes the test case. Inside the Pentagon, this is the nightmare scenario. Leaders there have wargamed this for decades, not because they want it, but because they fear it. Here is how it unfolds. The order is signed. The public hears a formal announcement, a proclamation ordering people to disperse. Hours later, the Minnesota National Guard is federalized. The governor loses command. Those troops now answer directly to the president. Refusal is not protest. It is treated as insubordination. Transport planes land. Equipment moves in. Perimeters are set. Temporary bases are established. Then comes the moment everyone fears. A street filled with protesters. On one side, civilians. On the other, soldiers trained for combat zones, not city streets. Young, nervous, overstimulated, armed. A loud noise, a firework, a misunderstanding. One mistake, one panic reaction, one trigger pull. And suddenly, the situation does not de-escalate. It explodes. This is not speculation. This is why military leadership has always warned against using soldiers as domestic police. The training is different. The psychology is different. The consequences are catastrophic. Worse than that, insiders have long warned that some political factions actually believe this kind of confrontation is useful, that chaos justifies more power, that fear makes control easier, that escalation becomes strategy. If one city falls under this model, the precedent spreads. Now forget politics for a moment. Think about the people. Families in Minneapolis who already lived through trauma, parents who just want their kids safe, workers who just want stability, communities that are already exhausted. Think about the National Guard member who joined to help during disasters, not to occupy his own neighborhood, ordered to stand between his neighbors and his conscience. This breaks something deep, not just in government, in society, in trust. When a military is used to enforce political power against civilians, the relationship between people and institutions shatters. And history shows, once that trust is gone, it does not come back easily. This is the real danger. Because this is not just about one president. This is about precedent. If this becomes acceptable, then any future president can use the same power against any city, any protest, any political opposition. States lose meaning. Civil protections weaken. The line between democracy and authority blurs. That is why this moment matters. Watch what happens next. Watch how leaders respond. Watch how institutions behave under pressure. Watch the streets. Watch the silence. History does not always announce itself with explosions. Sometimes it announces itself with a signature on a document, and when it does, everything changes. If you want to stay informed when the story develops further, stay connected, pay attention, stay aware, because the next chapter of this story will not be written by commentators. It will be written by decisions made in rooms we will never see.